Hello everyone and welcome to Datherm's next session on modern application security. Today we'll be talking about a gotcha with your cloud applications as they reside in Azure. We did a previous one on AWS and another one on GCP, so this is nothing against Microsoft Azure directly, but all three clouds, even four clouds with Alibaba, whether it's AWS, GCP, Azure, or Alibaba Cloud, they all have some gotchas, and today is just another session on one of those gotchas that we want you to be aware of. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is essentially there is a option on Microsoft Azure that says, hey, would you like to have other Azure services enabled or accessible by your databases? So this could be SQL, Maria database, Cosmos, all the databases that are accessible in the Microsoft Azure cloud. Now what it looks like is this option. This is from the Azure console itself. So if you can see from the very small print, it says configures the server's firewall to accept connections from all Azure resources, including resources not in your subscription. Now that sounds pretty straightforward, but it is kind of missing a few details, one critical detail. When it says resources not in your subscription, that could imply your resources not in your subscription. But that's actually not entirely true. What it's really trying to tell you that, hey, if you or your developers accidentally or intentionally enable this option that says allow access to Azure services, what happens, and this is a knowledge base article not on the Microsoft portal, but way away on their website, it will allow connections from subscriptions of other customers. So that's the key gotcha we're here to talk about today. So again, if you or your developers accidentally enable this, which is a somewhat simple option that allow access to Azure services, and especially when things don't work, what do you start doing? You just enable everything to see if you can get connection. This pop-up message doesn't seem too bad, but what it really is doing, again, from Microsoft documentation, you're allowing all these databases that I have listed here and many more to be accessible from other Microsoft customers. So it's basically publicly accessible. So here is a very, very simple artist rendition of what we're talking about. So say you're Wells Fargo and you're in the Microsoft Azure cloud and one of your developers accidentally enables that. Essentially, it's public access. So if I were a hacker, I would just create a free Azure account and then start connecting to databases that are accessible to me because of the Azure services option that has been enabled. So whether it's a competing bank or a hacker itself, this is, while not public, accessible on the internet, but it kind of is because the cloud is on the internet and you just need an Azure account, which is free, to publicly connect to these things. So this is very bad and not something we ever want to see with any of our customers or non-customers. So the good news is there's a very simple and straightforward way to disable this. And here's the link from Microsoft to go ahead and disable that directly. So we want to make sure you do this right away if you're watching this webinar. And of course, Datherm has a product to do this on your behalf. So these are about 17 checks on Azure services, as you can see from the screenshot itself. And this will not only find any Azure systems, resources, databases accessible to a free account of Azure, also will walk you through to kind of cutting those off. So you can see the bottom option is accessible from the internet. That's another issue that I haven't talked about today. What I'm talking about today is the top option that says accessible from Azure services, right? Again, seems kind of innocent, but really that means any Microsoft Azure customer, including free accounts on Azure itself. So once you kind of make the change, obviously a very simple artist rendition is there will be a true air gap between your cloud resources and the public free accounts on Azure or other customers of Azure itself. So with that, let's do a quick demo. All right, you can see that I'm here on the Datherm demo. Actually, I'm going to reduce the size of the demo. Might make it easier to see. There, hopefully that's better. And I'm going to go ahead and click on policies. We have a default Datherm policy. Go ahead and click on that. And just for simplicity's sake, as soon as it loads, I'm going to go ahead and just search for Azure services. And you can see there's a whole bunch of to make sure we capture this. So again, these are all checks to make sure that if you have any databases in Microsoft Azure's cloud that have enabled access to Azure services, which is again any other customer of Microsoft, we will catch it. And here are the options. Again, like I said, there's quite a few of these. And notice we also have it if it's accessible from the internet. That's obviously an urgent issue, but this could be argued to be urgent or important. In fact, you can go ahead and upgrade the issue to urgent if you feel like I would personally, because again, there is nothing stopping me from getting a free account if I'm an attacker and connect to your databases that have been enabled. And then if we do find any of these, you go ahead and go to policy violation. I have one queued up ready for you as soon as that loads. And then here is one, sadly, in our test account, so not so sad, but essentially this Azure SQL Server was accessible to all Azure services, and like I said before, that's basically means that it's publicly accessible and has the date of the discovery, and then if you click on the details, it'll give you the remediation guidelines. All right. Well, that's it for our demo and also our session. If you have any questions on modern application security, whether it's the Azure gotchas or any other items, feel free to contact us at knowledge@datatherm.com. Have a good rest of your day, and thank you again. Bye-bye.